So we're actually recording this time. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Go Talk Marcus, powered by Podex, fueled by GoFuel. Uh, Once again, joining me on the show is Jalen Hunter of the Unpopular podcast. What's up, man? How you doing?
How you doing, man? I appreciate you having me on, man. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be invited, man. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate you just as much for coming on and wasting your time and listening to my jabs and things like that. It's fun. So today, Jalen and I were going to sit here. We're going to talk about the Chicago Bears.
Oh, so I thought you were going to talk about the Sixers for a second. I guess we're dodging that one, huh?
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's worth it. I think so. We got the Chicago Bears. Interesting draft. Just like with the rest of these episodes, we're just going to talk about the draft, off season, look ahead into the regular season a little bit. Their day got started in the draft. Day 2, they had 2 second-round picks, a third, 2 fifths, 3 sixths, 3 sevenths, 11 players all together. Mm-hmm. Their first guy off the board was Kyle Gordon, which was an interesting pick in and of itself. How would you grade the Bears draft class this season, given where they were coming from and given probably what they're looking to do heading into this upcoming season?
I guess a C, and that's, it's not a. So I like Kyle Gordon. Kyle Gordon's a freak athlete from Washington. I like that. I also like what's the wide receiver that they got from Tennessee, Jones Jr. Volus Jones Jr. But I feel all right. So last year, in fact, it's not just last year. One of the biggest problems that the Bears have had for a while now, whether it's with Justin Fields, whether it's with Nick Foles, whether it's with Mr. Trubisky, is their offense could not match with their defense. Now, yes, you did lose some key pieces on the defensive side of the ball, which is kind of why I like Gordon. But especially when you have a young quarterback, he's going in his second year, you lose your number one receiver in Allen Robinson. I would have hoped that they would go more with weapons, especially where they picked. You could have had, there was a play. A lot of people were saying that this is probably the deepest draft when it comes to wide receivers, maybe in history of the NFL. So there was a lot of quality wide receivers. Like, hell, I'm not going to say get a tight end in the second round, but there was a lot of picks that you could have picked that would have helped the offensive side of the ball. You have a new coach. You have a young quarterback who struggled last year getting to wide receivers. So I would have given him more pieces. And the only reason why I give it a C, honestly, is because I like Gordon. He's a freak athlete, like I said, out of Washington. He is fast as ever. He can, if you have a 50-50 ball, he can get it. He can also get to the quarterback because he's quick and he's big. I like that. But I don't know. I also didn't like the fact that they didn't really do much they got a lot of offensive linemen, which was important, but a lot of the linemen are questionable decisions. Like a lot of the linemen's like, okay, like maybe they'll be good, maybe not. We don't know. They didn't pick any sure things. And that's another reason why I give him a C. In fact, I honestly want to give him a lower grade. I just like Gordon. He's one of those people where I could have seen him go, high second round, high first round, or high first round. Let me say this: low second round, high first round. So I think they got a steal there, but I still think that there was a lot of needs that they needed to address that they didn't address fully, like I think they should. So I'll give it a C.
It's apparent that the Bears enjoy being third. They like being third in the division. They had the third best draft in the division. They're going to be third in the division this upcoming season. Like, you look at the Lions, their draft was stellar. Now, granted, they had a lot of capital relative to what they had to do. Like they went up, they got Aiden Hutchinson with the second pick, and then they traded 20 spots up to get Jamison Williams, and then the things they did after that was fantastic. You have a young guy in Justin Fields who, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, has a potential to make a jump in his sophomore season, because his rookie season wasn't that great. He missed a couple of games due to injury, and then of course there's the growing pains of getting to the NFL. He showed flashes, but you hire a defensive head coach which clearly means you're not that devoted to his improvement. And then you also don't get him the weapons, especially considering that Allen Robinson is now gone.
Yeah.
I understand that, you know what they say, offense wins games, defense wins championships. The Bears are not winning a championship anytime soon. And you're not going to win a championship with a bad quarterback anyway, because someone still has to throw the football. Like the 49ers a couple years ago had a fantastic defense. Why they lose in the Super Bowl? Because Jimmy Garoppolo missed one throw at the end of the game. Like, your quarterback still matters. That's still a very valuable, the most valuable position in the league. And when you have a young guy, it's really, really important that you surround him with weapons. Look at what the Eagles did. The Eagles, did they have the best draft with their picks? Maybe not, but they traded a first and a third round pick to get AJ Brown to surround Jalen Hurts with weapons to make sure that he can continue to grow and get rid of those excuses and really maximize his potential. The Bears draft, again, Kyle Gordon, I'm with you. I like Kyle Gordon. Outside of that, though, it's really just underwhelming. Like, these are a lot of guys that are like, the boomer bust differential is so, it's so wide that you can't say with certainty that this is going to work right now. Like I said, they did bring in Matt Eberflus to be the new head coach. That was a defensive coordinator in Indianapolis last season. So maybe that's the thinking: get the defense together first and then go offense. But at the end of the day, you have a young quarterback. And if he has no one to throw the ball to and he has no one to hand it off to, what are you going to do? Like, I know you have David Montgomery and now you have Velus Jones Jr. out of Tennessee. Outside of that, this offense is very underwhelming. This offense that they're potentially fielding for this season is going to be worse than the offense that they had going into week 1 last season. And it's not just because Allen Robinson isn't on the roster anymore. It's because they didn't do enough to fill in that hole even more. I feel like wide receiver should have been the priority, given that you gave up you let a top 15 wide receiver just walk out the door to go to the Rams. You have to fix that in some way.
You know, one thing that I always say is, or I didn't create this saying, of course, but a lot of teams are incompetent because they don't know they're incompetent.
Yes.
And it's hard to change when you don't know how to change. And the Bears' philosophy since Dick Butkus has been, let's focus on the defense. Let's focus on the defense. Let's focus on the defense. Well, if you look at their success since Dick Butkus, it's been lack thereof, to say the least. This ain't the steel curtains. This ain't the mean green boys. Like, this is a offensive heavy team. I mean, not team, offensive heavy league. And the fact that you're still trying to focus on the defense, which, by the way, isn't even that good.
It's not.
Khalil Mack ain't walking through that door again because you let him go. So it's like, I just don't understand how you can continuously finish third in your division.
Yep.
And you have teams like the Vikings and teams like, of course, no one right now, even without Devontae Adams and Valdez-Scantling, no one in that division is catching the Packers until Aaron Rodgers is gone. But you even have the Detroit Lions going heavy on offense, getting who I think is probably the steal of the draft in Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
You have that, and you continuously say and you see that your quarterback struggles last year. He struggles rating defenses, because I don't remember who said this, but shouts out to them. I know clearly it was a former athlete, but they said, one thing that I do know is it's easy to fool a young quarterback.
It is really easy to fool a young quarterback.
And you saw last year, Justin Fields would get drilled because he was waiting for a wide receiver to get open. Eddie Jones isn't it Eddie like the wide receiver? He ain't doing much. He's small. Like, so I just don't, until something changes, which it doesn't look like anything's changing anytime soon, because no offense to Eberflus, but you go defense heavy again when for years, I think since I've been alive for 27 years. I don't remember a time when I can say, damn, you know about that. The one time the Bears defense offense was good when they had Jay Cutler. I mean, I know and they went to the and I think they had Brandon Marshall one year. So it's just like, no, it's until they get with the times, which I know is hard for people. Like, I know it's hard for people to understand. Yeah, the Lakers aren't that good anymore. I know it's hard for people to understand. Yeah, this might be, Phoenix might be a team for a while. Yeah, where we could be looking at the freaking Bengals go crazy. And we know how bad the Bengals defense has been. But when you have a
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, when you have a Joe
Mhm.
Burrow, when you have a Joe Mixon, it changes a lot of things. I can't name you who is there outside of Justin Fields, who is the Bears' best offensive player. I'll wait. And
I mean, looking at the roster, you got Darnell Mooney, David Montgomery, Equanimous St. Brown, Byron Pringle. This is a very underwhelming roster
Byron Pringle
offensively.
Byron Pringle was the fourth man in
Mhm.
Kansas City. So now he's going to
Yep.
be your what, number one, number two option. Yeah, man, it's going to be a tough year for Chicago. I'm just be real with you. I'm gonna
It's
just be
gonna be
real.
it's gonna be a difficult year for Chicago, and I think, and I guess we can kind of segue right into because we're talking about the defense. Obviously, like I said, Matt Eberflus being the defensive coordinator for the Colts last season, now getting the job. This is yet another example of a team going defense with a young coach. We saw the Charger or with a young quarterback. We saw the Chargers hire Brandon Staley, a defensive minded guy, and they have Justin Herbert. We have Eberflus here. We've seen many different examples of defensive minded guys getting drafted by teams that have young quarterbacks. Now, granted, clearly that they're focused on the defense, given that most of like a majority of their 11 picks were drafted on the defensive side, specifically in the skill position. So, does Chicago's hiring of Matt Eberflus in combination with their draft class make this defense better potentially than what it was last season, if at all?
Let me first, before I answer this question, let me get on my soapbox for a quick second. I hate when they say I hate when a lot of people describe coaches as a defensive oriented coach or offensive oriented coach. I mean, it's easy when they can say that you had a great defense when you had Darius Leonard and DeForest Buckner on your team.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like it's easy to say Matt LaFleur is an offensive heavy coach when you have Aaron Rodgers on your team. So
Yeah.
it's like miss me with all that, bro. I'll say this. You can have the greatest scheme of all time. Phil Jackson could have had the Phil Jackson made the triangle offense. Triangle offense ain't doing nothing if Shaq and Kobe's not there, if Jordan
Yep.
and Pippen's not there. Smush Parker ain't getting no championship with the triangle offense. I don't know if people notice that or not. It so
Right.
it's yeah, they could be better than last year, but then again, they lost some really key pieces, and they're depending on a lot of young pieces and a lot of unproven potential.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, you can have the greatest scheme ever, but if the draft picks that you pick don't hit, if the players don't step up, then it doesn't matter. And not to
Mhm.
mention, again, the Bears have a tough schedule this year,
They do.
and it's like if you can't, they're going to be in dogfights. I mean, wish the jury is still out on Jared Goff, but they're going to be in dogfights in their division. I mean, think about it. On a given Sunday, you got to go against Aaron Rodgers. Turn around next Sunday, got to go against Justin Jefferson. Then turn around and kind of go against
Yeah.
Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
Like, it just I don't see success for this team. Of course, I don't wish any, ill will upon any coach, of course, but I don't see any
Mhm.
success
Mhm.
for this team because they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And where has that gotten you? It's gotten
Yeah.
you where no team wants to be, and that is the middle of the pack. You're too good to have a have a high draft pick, but you're not good enough to make the playoffs. So it's like,
Yep.
what are you? What are you? You're the middle sister. Nobody
Yeah.
cares about you. So that's how it is.
You look at the obviously by the time this comes out, we will have know the schedule. At the time of this recording, though, the schedule's not out. We do know the opponents. The Bears will have obviously their 6 games against the NFC North. They'll have to face the Eagles, Washington, Buffalo, Miami, Houston, San Francisco, Dallas, New York Giants, New England, the Jets, and the Falcons.
Hold on. So think about that.
None of those wins are given for the Bears.
Like you have Washington, which a lot of people don't. I mean, the jury's still out with the Carson Wentz thing, but Carson Wentz did have some good games. You have Dallas,
Mhm.
I mean, we know about Dallas. Dallas are home records in the regular season until they get to the playoffs. You have the Buffalo Bills, which a lot of people think could win a Super Bowl next year. Like
Yeah,
the Falcons even got better. I mean, the
yeah.
jury's still out with Marcus Mariota, but you still have Kyle Pitts. It just you ju- you look at this. You look at that schedule. You said the Jets, right?
Yeah, they are the
And the
Jets.
Jets, to me, won the draft. So it's
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
have there's no guarantees. So when the question that you asked me about the record, oh man, you might look at me crazy when I tell you what I think the record is going to be because there's no given wins, bro. There's none.
There's not. I mean, even if you, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. I mean, even if you look at, and we can talk about it right now. Even if you look at the Lions, like the Lions, say what you want about Dan Campbell's presentation, because he's not the most professional guy.
Mhm.
But he last season his first season as head coach for the Lions in my book is a win. Right? They played every game like it was their last. They tied a game with the Steelers in what was I think the sloppiest game of the season. I think that game was 19-19, both literally and figuratively. That was a very sloppy game for both teams, but also it got rained and got muddy. They won 3 games. They finished the season 3-3. They were 3-1 in those last 6 games that Jared Goff played because he did miss 2 games. Like they beat the Cardinals last season, who at one point was the best team in football. They beat the Vikings, and divisional games always mean a lot. And that's the Minnesota Vikings we're talking about, who are the second best team in the division. Like they got 3 wins last season. The Lions got better. And Jared Goff's not a world beater, but Jared Goff at this point, given like he's better than Justin Fields right now. He has more weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown came into his own last year. They also brought in Jameis Winston, who probably won't play until November, December time because of the injury, right? They got better defensively. Like this is even the games against the Lions, who have consistently been bringing up the caboose in the division for the past 5 to 7 years, even those games aren't a given. You look at the games against the NFC East; those games aren't guaranteed wins. Like there are no guaranteed wins on this schedule. There are a lot of, however, for the Bears, guaranteed losses. Like they're not going to beat the Packers. They're not going to beat the Vikings in either of those games. I don't think they're not going to beat the Bills. The Bills are going to smack them around. Like there are a lot of guaranteed losses. And even these 50-50 games that could go either way, you'd still more likely lean to their opponent than you would the Bears because they didn't do anything to get better. Like you mentioned earlier, this is an offensive league, and they did next to nothing to improve their offense except for draft offensive linemen. And we know historically, offensive linemen outside of the first round are very, very hit and miss. Have we seen offensive linemen in the second, third, and fourth rounds to come on and be great offensive linemen? And yeah, like Jason Kelsey for the Eagles, who was drafted in the fourth round. He's a Super Bowl champion, right? But by and large, offensive linemen and talent in general, it's hard to come by as far as being like this guy can pan out. We're not talking about a guy like Nakobe Dean who slid because of health reasons. We're not even talking about a guy like Jermaine Johnson, who was in the first round, but he also slid because of health reasons. Like we're talking about guys who you can't even label these guys as late round gems. This draft was so hit and miss. So let's talk about it. And I know we don't have the schedule specifically, but we have the opponents, all 17 of them. They went 6-11 last year. I'm assuming by your response that you definitely have them winning less than 6 games last season. How many wins do you have the Bears getting, if any, upcoming season?
I got about 4. I got about 5 or 6. I don't
Okay.
see much change because again, you have a new head coach. You have a new, you have a new not front office, but a new head coach, new coaching staff, and the biggest problems that you faced last year, I don't see you not facing again.
Yeah.
And while the teams that you have on your schedule historically might be cakewalks for some people, it's not. Like you said, the Lions have gotten better. Washington's you're gonna get Chase Young back. You're going up against the Bills. The Eagles got a lot better.
A lot better.
And not to mention, like, if you want to be 1,000%, look at all those quarterbacks against yours. Dak Prescott over Justin Fields. I'm going against Dak. Right now, Carson Wentz over Justin Fields. I'm going Carson. Jalen Hurts over Justin Fields. I'm going Jalen Hurts. What's his name? Josh Allen over. Come on now.
That's not even close. Yeah.
And you said the only toss up right now. Actually, I'm picking Tua over Justin Herbert. Or Justin Fields. So it's like,
yeah.
The only question mark I have right now, I guess, is what Jared Goff. I think at almost every single, and it's not because not Jalen Hurts. It's not because Justin Fields is garbage. It's because they have not done. The organization has not done a good job to surround him with talent.
Yeah.
So you're asking a young quarterback to make something out of nothing when he is not that wasn't even his strong suit at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So you're asking to do this in the NFL. So
Whole
it's
different
really
ball game.
yeah, it's really no offense to Justin Fields. It's really an indictment on the franchise itself and how they continue to neglect their the most important position. It's kind of it's easy for the Green Bay Packers to neglect getting trading up to get a wide receiver because
Yeah.
they have Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Justin Fields is not Aaron Rodgers. So
Nowhere near.
I have a feeling they're going to be in a lot of dogfights with teams that you expect them to beat. And
Yeah.
a lot of those, I mean, I think last year they won a lot of close games. I don't see that happening. Let me not
I
say
don't
that.
see that happening
They
either.
won a couple close games, and I don't see that
Yeah.
happening. It's like that year when was it Green Bay? Like they won like 4 or 5 games under 3 points. It's
Mhm.
just again,
That was 2 years ago when we went 13-3. Yeah.
yeah, again, you have Aaron Rodgers at that point.
Yeah.
You're asking Justin Fields to pull out of a hat when the hat is like filled with spikes. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you look at the quarterbacks, you got Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Jalen Hurts, who I think is going to have a great season this season, Carson Wentz, Josh Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, or Tua, depending on where the Dolphins go. You've got Davis Mills in Houston. You have Trey Lance or Jimmy G in San Francisco. Like Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and then Desmond Ritter or Marcus Mariota, depending on what direction Atlanta goes. Of those, of all those quarterbacks, I can't definitively say other than like Davis Mills and Marcus Mariota / Desmond Ritter. I can't say definitively that Justin Fields is better than a Tua. I can't definitively say that he's better than a Carson Wentz. I can't definitively say that Justin Fields is better than a Jared Goff, because Jared Goff has shown up to play a lot of times last season. Like I can't definitively say that. I'm definitely not going to say he's better than Mac Jones, because Mac Jones had a better coach, but Mac Jones had a better season than Justin Fields last year. Like
not
they're going to
just
be
that,
coming into a lot of these matchups with the worst quarterback.
not just that. I can't definitively say the Bears are better than any of those teams.
Yeah.
Whether you look at the defense, whether you look at the
Sure.
offense, I can't definitively say the Bears are better than we know how bad the Falcons have been offensively. I can't definitively say the Bears are better than the Falcons. I can't definitively say they're better than not the Bills, the Dolphins, or the Commanders are going to struggle next year. They're not better than the Commanders. Like I can't say that they're better than any. The only question mark right now is the Lions. So who we just have raved that they got better. They
did.
You get Aiden Hutchinson. You get it's hard for me to see wins, man. I'm not gonna disrespect them saying they ain't winning nothing, but
they'll find a way to win something. I don't think they'll I don't think they'll go winless, because like the Jets are the Jets and the Giants are the Giants, and they tend to get in their own way, and the Texans are the Texans. Those are, if I had to say right now, if I had to pick right now, those are the only 3 games that I can definitively, just looking at the opponent, say, yeah, the Bears can probably come in on top. The other 14 games, they're going to be dog, and some of them are going to be like the Bills are going to stomp all over the Bills. The Bears, the Packers, Vikings, you can kiss those games goodbye already. Like they're already sitting at 7 losses on the season, just looking at the schedule. It's not going to be an easy road, and you can even push that number up to 10 or 11, depending on, like, it's going to be tough. So with all that being said, right, this is no shot at Justin Fields, because Justin Fields, like I said earlier, he has shown flashes of potentially being a quality franchise guy in the NFL. But the lack of talent around him, the clear focus on defense that didn't really do that much, given the schedule and given everything that's looking for the Bears this season, do you expect, as corny as it sounds, do you expect Justin Fields to take a sophomore jump, or do you expect him to fall into a sophomore slump coming into this season? Or will he plateau and just give us the same production as last year?
This answer has everything, like kind of goes back to the last question. I have all the faith in the world that we saw Justin Fields improve drastically at Ohio
Mhm.
State. So I have all the faith in the world in him. I
Yes.
do not have all the faith in the world that the organization is going to put him in the right position, in right spots to be able to grow.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel that he's going to have to run for his life like he did last year. He's going to take some hard hits like he did last year. He's going to have to a lot of his interceptions were bad interceptions because he couldn't read coverage, but not just he couldn't read the coverage, he was waiting so freaking long for I don't know why for the life of them they did not use they had a top 15 wide receiver and all he was doing was slants. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. And I have all the faith in the world that Justin Fields is good enough to improve.
Yep.
I just don't have any faith that the organization will put him in the position to prove. So to answer your question, I don't think he's going to get worse, but I don't think he's going to get better. I think that he's going to struggle the same way he struggled last year. But last year you can kind of put it on the fact that all right, he's a rookie. He's still trying to learn defenses. The game is going very fast for him because this isn't Ohio State.
Yeah.
You could kind of put that at this point. You can put that on him for last year. At this point, I think there's going to be more on the organization, seeing as though you have a defensive minded coach when the defense wasn't the problem last year. Check.
It wasn't.
And
Yeah.
in fact, you had a defensive coach last year that nobody liked. So it's you go from defense to defense, and you're expecting your offense to get better.
Mhm.
In fact, I don't know a well-rounded coach in the league. and so you want to focus on something, and you focus on one thing that you focused on for years. And for a year, you haven't been good since Lovie Smith was your coach. And that's saying something because that man have been in college and back
16,
now.
16 years. It's been 16 years together. They went to the Super Bowl in 2006.
I was
The
11.
championship in 2010. I was 3 when they went
Think
to the
about that.
Super Bowl. Actually, no, I was not 3 yet because Super
Oh,
Bowl was in February, so I wasn't 3 yet. I was 2, which isn't that much better. But but yeah, it's been a long time coming for the Bears. I'm gonna go right there with you. I think he'll do about the same. Now, obviously, his numbers will improve if he doesn't get hurt because he'll play all 17 games, so he'll have more yards and he'll have that
Yeah.
for him. He'll look the same. He'll still be scrambling in the backfield, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, looking for someone to throw the ball to because you've got 15 different guys on the defense barreling down on you. And I know there's 11 guys on defense, but to Justin Fields, it'll feel like 15 because he's always running. Good thing for Justin Fields, he'll lose a lot of weight and burn a lot of calories with all the scrambling he'll have to do. But it's going to be another long season for the Bears.
Not
Of course, I
not to
can't help
mention,
but enjoy it,
yo,
Packers fan. But
not to
I will
mention,
feel bad for
man.
Justin Fields.
If you look at some of the offensive linemen, offensive tackles they got Braxton Jones, who's quarterback from Southern Utah, didn't run that much.
Nope.
You have Zachary Thomas, quarterback didn't run that much from San Diego. Well, he kind of ran a little bit from San Diego State, but it wasn't as much as Justin Fields. You have Doug Comer. Their quarterback in Illinois was the most pocket passer of all time, and it's like all the picks that you got is not suited for a run pass option offense.
It's not.
And you have the quarterback that damn near ran the most last year.
He did.
And he missed time.
Yeah. Yeah, both in design QB runs and also just broken down plays. Justin Fields ran the most last season. Yeah.
My fear for Justin Fields is this year he's not going well. This year is going to look like he's not improving, and they're going to put it on him. So then they're going to start is Justin Fields a bust, this, that, and third. But no, he wasn't put in the situation. He's better than Josh Rosen. But Josh Rosen was never put in the situation to succeed. And
Never.
I just feel it's especially in the NFL, man, it's huge, the organization that you go to. And I know it feels like I'm just bashing the Bears, but I'm being completely honest. A lot, kind of like the Lakers, kind of like the Celtics. People look at the history of this team and expect the history just come back. No, there's a reason why it's called history, my G. Like,
Yeah, it's
no,
been a while.
we're in the present, and in the present, you're not doing enough to help the quarterback. Now, if I'm drastically wrong, I have no problem saying I hope that I'm drastically wrong.
Yeah.
But we've seen a history of what the Bears do, and it looks like they're repeating that, but just not the history that they hope that is the history. When you were 3, I was 11. That's not the history that they're looking at. Jay Cutler had a number 1 receiver. Think about that. And
Bonafide. There was no denying it. Bonafide. He had a number 1 receiver.
And the last time they had number 1 receiver, or last time their offense kind of matched their defense, they went to Super Bowl.
Yeah, and if he didn't have a number 1 receiver, which he did, but if he wasn't a top 10 receiver in the league, they had Matt Forte. They had something going for him on that offense that helped. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think about this just Matt Stafford. This whole thing with Matt Stafford in the last season is like perfect example of it. Like Matt Stafford was always talented. You could never say he wasn't talented. But he got drafted by the Detroit Lions and was stuck there for 13 years, for crying out loud. Like a dumpster organization. Yeah, he had Megatron, but outside of that, who really did the Lions draft in those 13 years that was a game changer offensively to help bolster the Lions' chances? Granted, when you have to face Aaron Rodgers twice a year, that obviously has to do with it. And the Bears were good in the beginning of Matt Stafford's career. But by and large, the Lions sucked. And the second Matt Stafford got out of Detroit, where does he find himself? Hosting the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. Yeah. Like sometimes your talent can't overcome incompetence. And I think we look at other sports like basketball and we kind of forget that. Like, yeah, okay, LeBron dragged a team in the Cavs to the finals in 2007. They shouldn't have been there. Like the Cavs, that like the decision making that season, look at that roster sucked. Like they were lucky to be there in that first time. So, but that's a different game because one guy can impact winning a lot more on basketball when there's only 5 guys on the court at the time on your team, 12 to 15 guys on the roster, than one guy on a 53-man roster that only plays one position. Justin Fields can't throw the ball and catch it. He can't do that. He can't sack the quarterback. He can't get picked. Yeah. Like he needs help around him. And if you're not going to give him that help, you can't then come down 2-3 years from now when he's not producing and say, oh, maybe we made a bad pick. No, you didn't invest time in your young talent. I'm a Packers fan. I love it when the Bears suck. But I also like to see quarterbacks be successful, especially guys that are talented. And Justin Fields has the talent and has the potential to be a really good quarterback in this league. But this was not the situation for him at all. And you're seeing it. Like, he would have been better off in Atlanta, I think. He would have been better off. He definitely would have been better off in New England. Like, there are a lot of different places where you look at that draft last year, like, why didn't they take Justin Fields? He definitely would have been a better fit and would have been able to develop more. Mac Jones was probably the 5th-ranked quarterback of the top 5. And Mac Jones had a better Davis Mills in Houston had a better season than Justin Fields. And the Houston Texans have nobody, but they got something. They got Rex Burkhead. They got Brandon Cooks. They've got something down there working, and it's just enough where Davis Mills was looking really good last season, and we didn't even know who Davis Mills was until he started playing football for the Texans in the back half of the season. So it's really, really it's scary hours are ahead for the Chicago Bears in Justin Fields. And like you said, and like I'm going to say again, I feel bad for Justin Fields because he's not going to have fun playing football this season. It's going to be a lot of struggles for him for sure.
And I hear a lot of people going to your comments when you said Matthew Stafford didn't have, yes, he had Megatron, but when Megatron's getting triple teamed,
yeah,
like you can't throw him the ball every time. Not to mention, and the difference between that is 1, Matthew Stafford is better than Justin Fields. 2,
yes,
your coach was scheming the Lions coach was scheming up plays to try to get Megatron open. What David Montgomery catching in the flats and hoping to break 1,001 tackles? Like,
it's not smart game planning at all.
Yeah, good luck because it's just incompetence, and incompetence loses you games and loses you jobs, and it's unfortunate because again, like you said, to me, Justin Fields has the opportunity to be a very good quarter. I can see him being a better Jalen Hurts,
It's
but
possible. Yeah.
the difference
The
between
skill
Jalen,
set's the same.
yeah, the difference between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields is you can tell, even if I don't like the Eagles, you can tell the Eagles are trying everything in their power to give him weapons. I mean, you just trade a first
Absolutely.
and a third for AJ Brown.
Fleece the Titans.
Like,
Fleece the Titans, by the way.
so that was the best move of the draft,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate, but that it's just yet another year where the Packers are gonna fight for NFC seeding to get all the way to the first round to lose. So
All right.
that's just how, and then the Bears are
All
gonna be
right.
outside looking in. That's just how it is. That's just how it's gonna be. It's
That is
unfortunate.
it's a sad reality for the Bears, and I'm going to enjoy every second of it. I do hope for something better though for Justin Fields down the line. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Please tell everybody where to find you and your content.
Well, hopefully you can find me in the Capitals by the time this goes out. The Capitals will be what in the second round.
Second
Hopefully,
round by then.
going
Hopefully,
against Florida Panthers. We're
we're up
underdogs
one game to
there.
one right now at the time of the
But hopefully we'll be in the second round. But you can find me on YouTube at the Unpopular Podcast. I drop an episode every Wednesday and Saturday. You can also find me on all your DSPs, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart. It's the Unpopular Podcast with the mic and the headphones. Again, I always appreciate coming on. It's definitely an honor. And yeah, I don't really care about my socials. Just follow the podcast. That's all I care about. That's all I care about.
Yeah, just follow the pod. That's always
Follow the pod, and then it'll take you to the socials. But
yeah,
that's the Unpopular Podcast. That's what it is.
The Unpopular Podcast. Follow it on everything and make sure you do it. It's always a pleasure to have Jalen on the show. Thank you guys for watching and listening. There's going to be obviously a whole bunch more of these as we progress through the offseason. We've got about halfway through at this point. We've got some more to go. All 32 teams are getting done this offseason. So check out the episodes you've missed and be on the lookout for the rest. And do know that the Packers episode is probably going to be the longest one because I have a lot of things to get off my chest about the Green Bay Packers and how frustrated I am with that organization. But what else is new?
Well, you didn't like the Georgia Bulldogs. You ain't like that. You ain't like the Georgia Bulldogs.
No, no, I didn't. I'm not mad at the Devontae Wyatt pick. The Devontae Wyatt pick was okay with me. The Quay Walker one was not. But it's okay.
Why did I mean I know you keep trying to sign out, but why did y'all not get the best Georgia defender? I mean, I know he had health problems, but
I don't know. Because honestly, it's because we're scared. We're not aggressive.
Oh.
Like I get that he declined the surgery, but he's the best linebacker on the best college defense that won a championship. You get that guy. I think it's because of versatility, because I'm guessing they're thinking they can put Quay Walker like on the edge or inside if they need to. Like, I don't care about any of that. We just signed Devondre Campbell to an extension. Why would we then go out there and draft an inside linebacker who was not even whatever? Point is it's upset. If you want to see my reaction to it, you can go to Wilson Football on Instagram. It's on there. It's on like the 6th or 7th slide on the draft reaction post. I was on a show and we all snapped and it was great. So for Jalen Hunter of the Unpopular Pod, it's Marcus of Go Talk Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching. As always, you guys enjoy the rest of your life.